March 15th, 2023. 11:47 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 3 screenshots posted to a Reddit forum would change everything. What began as whispered rumors in private online communities exploded into the most devastating digital scandal of our generation. 2 influencers with millions of followers, one secret affair, and a trail of digital evidence that would destroy marriages and careers and expose the dangerous intersection between public personas and private lives. Tonight we examine the case that crashed Twitter servers, sent Reddit detectives into overdrive, and forced mainstream media to confront a new reality that in the age of social media, no secret is truly safe, and the consequences of betrayal can reach further than ever before imagined. This is the story of how modern love, digital deception, and the internet's hunger for scandal collided in the most spectacular way possible. This is the affair that broke the internet. Before we begin our investigation, I want to take a moment to acknowledge you, our incredible viewers. Your support, your engagement, and your thoughtful comments make Crime Vault possible. For those of you who've been following our channel, thank you for being part of this community that seeks truth while respecting the human stories behind every case. If you're new to Crime Vault and haven't yet subscribed, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button right now. Your subscription is more than just a number to us. It's the foundation that allows us to dedicate the time, research, and resources necessary to bring you these in-depth investigations. Every subscription tells us that these stories matter, that understanding the complex intersection of technology and human behavior is important, and that there's an audience for respectful, thorough documentary storytelling. Your support directly enables us to continue bringing you these carefully researched stories. So please subscribe to Crime Vault and let's continue this journey together. To understand how this story became a global phenomenon that captivated millions and destroyed lives, we must first understand the world our main characters inhabited. The billion-dollar industry of social media influence, where authenticity is currency and privacy is the price of fame. Sarah Chen entered the social media world in 2019 with a simple Instagram account documenting her journey as a newlywed. Her handle, @lifestyle by Sarah, began modestly with posts about home decoration and marriage advice. But Sarah possessed something rare in the oversaturated world of lifestyle content: genuine charisma paired with an uncanny ability to make her life appear simultaneously aspirational and attainable. By 2023, Sarah commanded 2.3 million followers across Instagram and TikTok. Her empire extended far beyond simple social media posts. She had built a multi-million-dollar business selling online courses with titles like Build Your Dream Life in 90 Days and The Successful Wife's Guide to Everything. Her brand partnerships with major companies brought in 6-figure deals monthly. Forbes estimated her annual income at over $3 million. But Sarah's true genius was in her storytelling. She had crafted a narrative that millions of women found irresistible: the devoted wife who had cracked the code to having it all. Her husband Marcus frequently appeared in her content as the supportive partner, the tech entrepreneur who had found success while maintaining his role as the perfect husband. Together, they represented the modern power couple, wealthy, attractive, and seemingly unbreakable. Every aspect of their relationship was carefully curated for public consumption. Their anniversary posts garnered millions of views. Their vacation content drove engagement through the roof. Sarah's followers felt invested in their love story because Sarah had made their relationship a central pillar of her brand. She wasn't just selling lifestyle advice, she was selling the dream of a perfect marriage. Meanwhile, across the digital landscape, Jake Rodriguez was building his own empire on an entirely different foundation: vulnerability. Known online as A Fitness with Jake, Jake's 1.8 million followers had connected with him through his raw honesty about divorce, mental health struggles, and the challenges of single fatherhood. Jake's origin story was compelling and heartbreaking. He openly discussed his messy divorce, sharing the pain of custody battles and the struggle to rebuild his life after his marriage fell apart. His transformation from overweight, depressed divorcee to fitness influencer and successful entrepreneur resonated with millions of people who saw their own struggles reflected in his journey. His content strategy was masterful. Jake understood that modern audiences, particularly men, were hungry for authentic masculinity that acknowledged vulnerability without sacrificing strength. He shared his therapy sessions, his struggles with co-parenting, his journey through depression and anxiety. His followers felt like they knew him personally, like they were rooting for a friend's success. Jake's business acumen matched his emotional intelligence. His supplement line, Authentic Strength, was valued at $2.5 million. His workout programs generated substantial monthly recurring revenue. His book, Rising from the Ashes, A Divorced Dad's Guide to Rebuilding, had been on bestseller lists for months. Both Sarah and Jake had mastered the fundamental principle of influencer success. Their personal lives were their products. Sarah sold the dream of the perfect marriage, while Jake sold the hope of recovery and transformation. Their followers weren't just consuming content, they were investing emotionally in carefully crafted narratives about love, success, and personal growth. Neither could have predicted that their carefully constructed worlds were about to collide in the most destructive way imaginable. They had built their fortunes on authenticity and transparency, but they were about to discover that the same technology that made them famous would become the instrument of their downfall. In the world of social media influence, collaboration is king. Successful influencers understand that cross-promotion, joint content, and strategic partnerships can exponentially expand their reach and engagement. So when Sarah Chen and Jake Rodriguez began appearing in each other's content in January 2023, industry observers initially saw nothing unusual about their professional relationship. The fitness and lifestyle niches overlapped significantly. Wellness retreats, networking events, and brand partnerships naturally bring successful influencers into the same circles. When Sarah posted Instagram stories from the same gym where Jake trained, or when Jake shared content from wellness conferences where Sarah spoke, it appeared to be standard industry networking. But the internet never forgets, and for those who knew how to look, the digital breadcrumbs were everywhere. The first anomaly appeared in location data. Both influencers frequently used Instagram's location tagging feature as part of their content strategy. Sarah tagged upscale restaurants to promote her elevated lifestyle brand, while Jake tagged gyms and outdoor workout locations to reinforce his fitness message. Starting in late January, a pattern emerged that would later prove damning. On January 24th, Sarah posted a story from Nobu Malibu at 7:23 p.m. Jake posted from the same restaurant at 7:31 p.m. Coincidence seemed plausible. On January 31st, Sarah shared content from the Beverly Hills Hotel at 10:15 a.m. Jake posted from the hotel's gym at 10:22 a.m. Again, potentially explainable as coincidence. But the pattern accelerated. February brought a dozen such instances. Same locations, timestamps minutes apart, but never together in the same frame. They were clearly in the same places at the same times, but maintaining the appearance of separate, independent presence. The metadata told an even more revealing story. Instagram's algorithm began connecting them in ways that raised eyebrows among industry insiders. Their content started appearing together in followers' feeds with unusual frequency. The platform's artificial intelligence had detected engagement patterns that suggested their audiences had significant overlap and interest in their connection. Their comment interactions increased by 340% over 3 months. Jake began using Sarah's signature catchphrases in his content. Sarah started incorporating Jake's workout philosophy and motivational language into her lifestyle posts. Their content styles, previously distinct, began showing subtle convergence. The fitness industry is surprisingly small, and veteran observers began noticing patterns that casual followers missed. A photographer who worked a February wellness retreat in Tulum later revealed crucial details that wouldn't surface until after the scandal broke. Sarah and Jake had initially requested separate accommodations, citing their different content needs and brands, but hotel staff noticed they were frequently seen entering and leaving the same suite. The photographer, who requested anonymity due to ongoing legal concerns, described observing them together multiple times in private settings that contradicted their public presentation as professional acquaintances. They shared meals away from other attendees, took private walks on the beach, and exhibited body language that suggested intimate familiarity rather than casual business relationships. Social media platforms document everything through engagement metrics, and the algorithms were quietly cataloging their growing connection. Their posts received higher engagement when they appeared together in feeds. Comment sections showed increased interest when their content was related. The platforms that made them famous were inadvertently documenting their secret relationship through data points and algorithmic connections.
Industry insiders began whispering.
The wellness and fitness communities are tight-knit, and gossip travels fast through private Facebook groups and Discord servers. Speculation began appearing in private forums months before any public revelation. People who worked retreats, events, and brand partnerships started sharing observations that painted a picture of a relationship that extended far beyond professional collaboration. The most damning evidence was hiding in plain sight. Their Instagram activity patterns showed they were increasingly active at the same times, often liking and commenting on each other's posts within minutes of publication. Their stories were frequently posted from similar angles and lighting conditions, suggesting shared physical spaces, even when they weren't appearing together. Jake's ex-wife later testified in court documents that she had noticed changes in his behavior and posting patterns that concerned her regarding their co-parenting arrangement. She noted that his usual posting schedule had shifted to accommodate what appeared to be a relationship with someone whose identity she couldn't determine from his public content. Sarah's husband, Marcus, in his later statement, admitted he had noticed his wife's increased focus on her phone and changes in her travel patterns that didn't align with her stated business activities. He had trusted her explanations about networking opportunities and brand partnerships, but the digital evidence would later reveal the true nature of her frequent absences. The irony was perfect and devastating. Sarah and Jake had built careers on transparency and authenticity, but they were using the same platforms that made them famous to orchestrate an elaborate deception. Every post, every story, every carefully crafted piece of content was simultaneously maintaining their public personas while concealing the truth of their private relationship. The digital trail they were leaving would eventually become the evidence that destroyed everything they had built. In trying to maintain their separate brands while conducting a secret affair, they had created a documented timeline of deception that would be impossible to deny or explain away. The explosion was coming, and every digital breadcrumb they left was another piece of evidence in the case that would captivate the internet and destroy their lives. March 15, 2023. The date is forever etched in social media history. At exactly 11:47 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, a Reddit user with the handle Wellness Whistleblower posted 3 screenshots to the r/influencer gossip subreddit that would change everything we thought we knew about online privacy, digital relationships, and the price of fame. The post was titled simply "Major Wellness Influencers Caught in Affair, Receipts Included." The accompanying text was brief but explosive. Worked for a social media management company that handled both of these accounts. Found these in shared cloud storage. Thought you should know who you're really supporting. The 3 screenshots showed what appeared to be Instagram direct messages between Sarah Chen and Jake Rodriguez. The messages contained explicit content, intimate discussions about their secret meetings, and most damaging of all, clear evidence that their public personas were carefully crafted lies. In the first screenshot, Sarah wrote, "Marcus is at his conference until Sunday. We have the whole weekend. I've told my followers I'm doing a wellness retreat solo." Perfect cover. Jake's response, "Can't wait. I've scheduled gym content for the weekend so no one will expect live posts. We're getting good at this deception thing." The second screenshot was even more damaging. Jake had written, "Sometimes I feel guilty about the divorce content. My ex wasn't as terrible as I make her seem, but the struggling single dad angle tests better with my audience." Sarah replied, "I know exactly what you mean. The perfect marriage content is exhausting. Marcus and I barely speak anymore, but the brand depends on us appearing happy." The third screenshot contained the most devastating revelation. Sarah had written, "I love you, but we have to be careful. If this comes out, I lose everything. The marriage is just for the brand now, but it's worth millions." Jake's response, "I love you too. We just have to be patient. Maybe in a year we can both rebrand our way out of our current narratives." Within 6 minutes of posting, the Reddit post had 47 upvotes and dozens of comments. The influencer gossip community, already primed for drama and scandal, recognized immediately that this was different from the usual speculation and rumor posts. These appeared to be actual receipts, real evidence of deception on a massive scale. The comments section exploded with analysis. Users examined every detail of the screenshots, looking for signs of manipulation or fabrication. The timestamps appeared consistent, the message formatting matched Instagram's interface, the writing styles aligned with both influencers' known patterns. Most convincingly, the content revealed intimate knowledge of both their business operations and personal situations that would be difficult to fabricate. Within an hour, the post had reached the subreddit's front page with over 1,000 upvotes. Reddit's algorithm, designed to surface engaging content, began promoting the post to users who had never visited the influencer gossip community. The platform's recommendation system was spreading the scandal beyond its initial audience. By 1 a.m. Pacific time, screenshots of the Reddit post were appearing on Twitter. By 2 a.m., they had reached Instagram gossip accounts. By 3 a.m., TikTok creators were making reaction videos. The story was spreading across platforms faster than either influencer could possibly respond. The timing was catastrophic for both Sarah and Jake. Posted late on a Wednesday night, the scandal had hours to spread unchecked while both influencers slept, unaware that their carefully constructed worlds were crumbling in real time. By the time they woke up on Thursday morning, March 16th, Their names were trending across multiple platforms. The hashtag #Fairgate began trending on Twitter within 4 hours of the initial Reddit post. TikTok's algorithm, always hungry for drama and engagement, was pushing related content to millions of users who had never heard of either influencer. Instagram's Explore page was flooded with gossip accounts reposting the screenshots with increasingly dramatic captions. Sarah's most recent Instagram post, a seemingly innocent smoothie recipe from the day before, became ground zero for the unfolding drama. Her comments section, usually filled with supportive messages and recipe requests, transformed overnight into a battlefield. Thousands of comments poured in, ranging from shocked disbelief to angry condemnation to demands for explanation. Jake's situation was equally chaotic. His last post, a motivational workout video about staying authentic to your values, became unintentionally ironic, given the revelations about his fabricated divorce narrative. His comment section filled with former supporters expressing betrayal and disappointment. The speed of the scandal's spread revealed something fundamental about modern information consumption. In the age of screenshots and viral content, scandal spreads faster than facts. Neither Sarah nor Jake had confirmed or denied the authenticity of the messages, but millions of people were already drawing conclusions and taking sides. YouTube commentary channels, always eager for fresh drama content, began pivoting their entire upload schedules. Drama Alert, with its millions of subscribers, dedicated its Thursday episode to the scandal. T-Spill, Philip DeFranco, and dozens of smaller channels began producing content, analyzing every detail of the allegations. The view counts were staggering. Individual reaction videos were hitting 500,000 views within hours of upload. Commentary channels that had never discussed influencer drama suddenly found themselves covering the biggest story in their platform's recent history. Traditional media outlets were slower to react, but by Thursday afternoon, entertainment reporters were scrambling to verify the story and reach both influencers for comment. The scandal had transcended internet drama and entered mainstream news cycles. Entertainment Tonight assigned reporters to the story. People magazine began preparing coverage. The affair that started in Reddit's gossip forums was becoming national news, but perhaps most telling was the silence from both Sarah and Jake. As the scandal exploded across every platform, as their comment sections became war zones, as their names trended worldwide, both remained completely silent. No statements, no denials, no attempts at damage control. Their silence in the face of such devastating allegations spoke volumes to their millions of followers. The original Reddit poster, Wellness Whistleblower, had achieved something remarkable and terrifying. With 3 screenshots and a brief explanation, they had triggered the complete collapse of 2 multi-million-dollar personal brands and forever changed how we think about privacy, authenticity, and the price of internet fame. The explosion had begun, and there was no containing it. In the 72 hours following the initial revelation, the internet transformed into a courtroom, jury, and executioner, all rolled into one. What we witnessed was unprecedented in the history of social media scandals, the complete digital dismantling of 2 major influencers happening in real time, documented and amplified by the very platforms that had made them famous. Thursday, March 16th, dawned with both Sarah and Jake's names trending in the top 5 hashtags on Twitter. But this wasn't just passive observation. This was active participation. Millions of users weren't just consuming the scandal. They were investigating, analyzing, and contributing to the story's evolution. The Reddit community that had broken the story became the scandal's unofficial headquarters. The original post had accumulated over 15,000 upvotes and 3,200 comments by Thursday morning. But more importantly, users had begun conducting their own investigations. Amateur detectives were cross-referencing public information, analyzing social media posts, and building detailed timelines that revealed the scope of the deception. One user, going by the handle Metadata Detective, posted a comprehensive analysis of both influencers' posting patterns over the previous 6 months, using publicly available timestamp data. They had created a visual map showing the correlation between Sarah and Jake's locations and posting schedules. The evidence was overwhelming. They had been together far more frequently than their public personas suggested. Another user had analyzed the linguistic patterns in both influencers' content, noting subtle changes in vocabulary and phrase usage that aligned with their alleged relationship timeline. Sarah had begun using fitness terminology that matched Jake's brand language. Jake had started incorporating lifestyle and relationship advice that echoed Sarah's content themes. TikTok became the platform for emotional reactions and quick-fire analysis, Creators were making videos faster than the platform could process them. The algorithm, trained to identify and amplify engaging content, recognized that this scandal was driving massive engagement and began pushing related content to users across the globe. A TikTok creator named Truth-Seeking Millennial posted a video that would be viewed over 2 million times in 48 hours. In it, she analyzed the body language and interaction patterns visible in Sarah and Jake's collaborative content from previous months. Her conclusion was damning. Every piece of evidence suggested an intimate relationship disguised as professional collaboration. YouTube commentary channels found themselves in the unique position of covering a story that was evolving faster than they could produce content. Channels that typically took days to research and script their videos were pushing out daily updates as new information emerged. The scandal had become a full-time beat for drama channels across the platform. But the reaction wasn't uniformly condemnatory. The scandal revealed deep divisions in how different communities viewed privacy, authenticity, and the obligations of public figures. Sarah's fanbase, heavily composed of married women who had invested emotionally in her relationship advice, felt personally betrayed. Many had purchased her courses based on her marriage expertise, and the revelation that her marriage was just for the brand felt like fraud. Jake's supporters were more divided. Some felt betrayed by his dishonesty about his divorce and co-parenting situation. Others argued that his right to privacy and new relationships should be respected, regardless of his public persona. The men's mental health community, which had embraced Jake's vulnerability, struggled with the revelation that some of his content might have been strategically crafted, rather than authentically shared. The generational divide in reactions was stark. Older social media users expressed shock at the violation of privacy, questioning whether private messages should ever be shared publicly, regardless of their content. Younger users, raised in an era of canceled culture and public accountability, argued that public figures who profit from their personal lives forfeit traditional privacy expectations. Instagram became the platform where the human cost was most visible. Both influencers' most recent posts transformed into digital pillories. Sarah's smoothie recipe post accumulated over 47,000 comments in its first day online. The comments ranged from expressions of betrayal from longtime followers to brutal personal attacks to detailed analyses of her previous content looking for signs of deception. Jake's workout video received similar treatment. Comments that had once praised his authenticity and vulnerability now read as criticism of his deception and manipulation. Former supporters shared how his content had helped them through difficult times, making his dishonesty feel like a personal betrayal. The financial implications became clear quickly. Brand partnerships, the lifeblood of influencer income, began disappearing within hours of the scandal breaking. FabFitFun, one of Sarah's major sponsors, issued a statement saying they were reviewing the situation and considering all options. By Friday, they had officially terminated their partnership. Jake's supplement company faced a different challenge. As the owner of his own brand, he couldn't be dropped by sponsors, but retailers began questioning whether to continue carrying his products. Online sales dropped precipitously as his authenticity, the foundation of his brand, came under question. The speed at which information spread revealed both the power and the danger of viral content. Unverified claims mixed with documented evidence, creating a flood of information that was impossible to fact-check in real time. Rumors about both influencers' private lives, financial situations, and business practices spread as quickly as verified information. Most disturbing was how the scandal began affecting people beyond Sarah and Jake themselves. Marcus Chen, Sarah's husband, became a subject of public speculation and sympathy. Social media users began following his accounts, analyzing his posts for signs of distress or reaction to his wife's affair. His privacy was being violated by association despite being a victim in the situation. Jake's children, though minors and protected from direct identification, became subjects of discussion regarding custody implications and the impact of their father's public deception. Child welfare advocates expressed concern about how the scandal might affect the children's well-being and relationship with both parents. The platform responses varied significantly. Twitter's trending algorithm continued to amplify the scandal, with new hashtags emerging daily. Instagram seemed to be suppressing some content related to the scandal, though the company never confirmed any official policy changes. TikTok's algorithm pushed scandal-related content aggressively, leading to concerns about the platform's role in amplifying potentially harmful content. By Friday, March 17th, the scandal had achieved something rare in internet culture: complete platform saturation. It was impossible to use social media without encountering content related to the affair. The story had achieved a level of viral penetration that social media experts said they had never witnessed before. The silence from both Sarah and Jake remained deafening, as their digital worlds burned around them, as their comment sections became battlegrounds, as their names became synonymous with deception and betrayal. Neither had made any public statement. Their silence was being interpreted as admission of guilt, making their situations worse with each passing hour. The internet had rendered its judgment swiftly and mercilessly. In less than 72 hours, two multi-million-dollar personal brands had been completely destroyed by the same technology that created them. The viral nature of the scandal ensured that there would be no recovery, no redemption arc, no path back to their former positions. The court of public opinion had spoken, and the verdict was devastating. Behind every viral scandal are real people facing real consequences. And as the internet celebrated its latest entertainment, the human cost of the affair revelation was becoming catastrophically clear. What we were witnessing wasn't just the destruction of online personas, it was the complete unraveling of actual lives, families, and futures. Marcus Chen broke his silence on Friday, March 17th with a single Instagram story that would be screenshot and shared millions of times before he deleted it. An hour later, the message was simple but devastating. Some things you see online are true. I'm taking time to process and protect my privacy. Please respect our family during this difficult time. The post was viewed 2.3 million times in its brief existence. The comments on his permanent posts filled with expressions of sympathy, support, and anger on his behalf. Marcus had become the innocent victim in a scandal that he never chose to be part of. Yet his privacy was being invaded by millions of strangers who felt entitled to know details about his private pain. Industry insiders revealed that Marcus had been completely unaware of his wife's affair until he saw the same Reddit post that the rest of the world had seen. He learned about his marriage's collapse through social media, in the most public and humiliating way possible. Friends described him as devastated, not just by the betrayal itself, but by the public nature of his humiliation. Sarah's business empire began collapsing immediately. Her course sales, which had generated over $250,000 in the week before the scandal, dropped to virtually zero within 48 hours. Students began demanding refunds, arguing that they had purchased relationship advice from someone whose marriage was fraudulent. Her customer service system, unprepared for the volume of refund requests, became overwhelmed. FabFitFun's cancellation was followed by a cascade of brand partnership terminations. Her supplement sponsor, workout equipment partnerships, and clothing collaborations all ended within the week. The financial impact was estimated at over $2 million in lost income for the remainder of 2023. But the psychological cost was even more severe. Mental health professionals who followed the case expressed deep concern about Sarah's well-being. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a psychologist who specializes in social media psychology, noted that the combination of financial ruin, relationship destruction, and public humiliation creates what she called a perfect storm for severe psychological distress. Sarah's posting behavior revealed signs of serious distress. Her typically active social media presence went completely silent for 5 days following the scandal. When she finally posted again, it was a brief statement. I am taking time away from social media to focus on my family and personal healing. I ask for privacy during this difficult time. The post disabled comments, but the screenshots circulated widely across other platforms. Jake's situation was equally devastating, but complicated by his role as a father. His ex-wife, Jennifer Rodriguez, filed for emergency custody modification on March 20th, 3 days after the scandal broke. Her legal filings cited the revelation that Jake had fabricated aspects of their divorce story for content creation, as evidence that he was unfit for shared custody. The court documents, which became public record, revealed disturbing details about Jake's content strategy. Jennifer's attorney argued that Jake had portrayed her as an unreasonable ex-wife to generate sympathy and engagement, when their divorce had actually been relatively amicable. His custody content, which had generated millions of views and significant revenue, was based on exaggerated or fabricated conflicts. Jennifer's statement to the court was heartbreaking. My children have been exposed to millions of strangers through their father's content, based on stories that weren't true. I trusted him to protect their privacy and represent our family honestly. That trust has been completely violated. The custody hearing revealed the extent to which Jake had monetized his children's lives. His single dad content generated approximately $30,000 monthly through sponsorships and course sales. The court had to consider whether this financial incentive had led him to prioritize content creation over his children's well-being and privacy. Jake's children, ages 8 and 11, became unwilling subjects of public discussion. Child welfare advocates expressed outrage that minor children were being discussed in connection with their father's scandal. The children's school reportedly had to increase security after social media users began trying to identify and contact them. The financial destruction for Jake was swift and comprehensive. His supplement company's sales dropped by 89% in the first week following the scandal. Retail partners began dropping his products. His book publisher issued a statement saying they were evaluating their options regarding his upcoming releases. Most devastating was the impact on his mental health advocacy work. Jake had partnered with several organizations focused on men's mental health and suicide prevention. These partnerships, built on his authentic sharing of his struggles, ended immediately when his authenticity came into question. The men who had found hope and inspiration in his content felt betrayed and abandoned. The psychological impact on both influencers became evident in their desperate attempts at damage control. Jake posted a lengthy video statement on March 22nd that would become a masterclass in how not to handle a scandal. In the emotional 47-minute video, he alternated between denying the affair, admitting to the affair, blaming his ex-wife, apologizing to his ex-wife, and begging for forgiveness from his audience. The video was immediately analyzed and criticized across social media. His inconsistent statements and emotional instability raised concerns about his mental health, while simultaneously making his situation worse. The video was removed after 12 hours, but not before it had been downloaded and re-uploaded across multiple platforms. Sarah's attempt at a statement was even more problematic. A week after the scandal broke, she posted a carefully crafted video that her PR team had clearly scripted. The disconnect between her polished presentation and the raw emotion of the situation made her appear calculating and insincere. Comments criticized her for appearing more concerned about her brand than about the people she had hurt. The ripple effects extended to their professional networks. Other influencers who had collaborated with them began distancing themselves publicly. Wellness retreats removed them from speaker lineups. Conferences canceled their appearances. The influencer marketing industry, already grappling with authenticity concerns, used their scandal as an example of why brands needed to be more careful about partnerships. The legal implications were becoming clear as well. Marcus Chen retained a divorce attorney known for high-profile cases. The dissolution of Sarah's marriage would involve dividing assets worth millions of dollars, complicated by the fact that her earning potential had been destroyed by the scandal. Jake faced potential legal action from his ex-wife regarding custody and child support, but also from business partners who argued that his deceptive content had damaged their investments. His supplement company's other investors were considering legal action, claiming that his personal conduct had destroyed the value of their investment. The human cost extended beyond the primary participants. Employees of both influencers' businesses faced unemployment as the companies downsized or closed entirely. Sarah's team of content creators, assistants, and business managers found themselves unemployed and associated with a major scandal. Most tragically, both influencers showed signs of severe psychological distress. Friends and industry insiders expressed concern about their mental health, noting dramatic changes in behavior and appearance. The transition from beloved public figures to universally criticized social pariahs happened so quickly that neither seemed able to process or cope with their new reality. The scandal had revealed the dark side of building a life and business around public persona. When that persona collapsed, it took everything with it: relationships, income, reputation, and psychological well-being. Sarah and Jake had learned the hardest lesson of the social media age. In a world where your private life is your product, there is no separation between personal and professional destruction. The human wreckage was complete, and the lives destroyed were far more extensive than just the two people who had made the choice to betray their families and followers. As the initial shock of the scandal began to settle, a more disturbing picture emerged. The affair itself, while devastating to those involved, was just the surface level of a much deeper story about deception, manipulation, and the lengths to which influencers will go to maintain their profitable personas. Amateur investigators on Reddit and Twitter began conducting forensic analyses that would make professional journalists proud. That raw influencer gossip community had transformed into a true crime investigation forum, with users dedicating hours daily to uncovering every detail of the deception. A user named Timeline Detective created a comprehensive chronology that revealed the affair had been ongoing for nearly 8 months, not the few weeks that initial speculation had suggested. Using archived social media posts, location data, and publicly available information, They documented over 40 instances where Sarah and Jake were in the same location at the same time, while maintaining the appearance of separate, independent activities. The technical analysis became increasingly sophisticated. Digital forensics experts began examining the leaked messages for signs of manipulation or fabrication. A cybersecurity professional posting under Forensic Analyst 23 provided detailed analysis of metadata, font consistency, and timestamp patterns. Their conclusion was damning. The messages appeared to be authentic with no evidence of digital manipulation, but the most explosive revelation came from an unexpected source. A hotel employee in Miami, emboldened by the ongoing investigation and the promise of anonymity, came forward with photographic evidence that nobody had seen coming. The employee had taken photos during a January weekend when both influencers were staying at the same luxury resort, allegedly for separate business purposes. The photos showed Sarah and Jake together in intimate settings throughout the weekend, sharing meals, walking on the beach, entering and leaving the same suite. Most damaging was a photo of them kissing on a private balcony, taken with a telephoto lens from a distance. The employee explained they had taken the photos because they recognized both influencers and thought the situation was unusual, given their public presentations as strangers. This evidence predated the affair timeline that had been constructed from the leaked messages by several weeks, suggesting the relationship had been ongoing even longer than initially suspected. It also confirmed that their public interactions, which had seemed to show the beginning of a friendship, were actually careful orchestrations designed to hide an existing intimate relationship. A fitness industry insider, speaking on condition of anonymity, revealed that Sarah and Jake's management companies had been coordinating their appearances and collaborations for months. The source claimed that what appeared to be organic, coincidental meetings were actually carefully planned encounters designed to provide cover for their secret relationship. The revelation that their professional teams might have been complicit in the deception added another layer to the scandal. It suggested that the affair wasn't just a personal betrayal, but a business strategy that involved multiple people and companies in maintaining the illusion. The most disturbing discovery came from analyzing Jake's divorce content in light of the new information about his deception. A Reddit user with legal experience examined Jake's previous statements about his custody arrangement and divorce proceedings, comparing them with public court records that were available through legal databases. The analysis revealed that Jake had significantly misrepresented his divorce circumstances. Court documents showed that his ex-wife had actually been accommodating regarding custody, had not demanded unreasonable financial support, and had generally behaved reasonably throughout their divorce proceedings. Jake's content portraying her as difficult and unreasonable was not supported by the legal record. This revelation was particularly devastating because Jake's divorce content had generated some of his highest engagement and had been the foundation for his supplement business and book deal. Thousands of divorced fathers had found comfort and guidance in his story, believing they were connecting with someone who truly understood their struggles. The discovery that his narrative was largely fabricated felt like a betrayal of the most vulnerable members of his audience. The investigation also uncovered the existence of a private Instagram account that Jake had created specifically for communicating with Sarah. The account, discovered through careful analysis of tagged photos and comment patterns, contained months of additional evidence including photos, voice messages, and detailed planning of their secret meetings. This secret account revealed the calculated nature of their deception. Messages showed them coordinating their public appearances to avoid suspicion, planning alibis for their time together, and even discussing how to respond if their relationship was discovered. They had created an entire parallel digital relationship hidden from their millions of followers. Perhaps most damaging were the voice messages found on the secret account. In these recordings, both Sarah and Jake could be heard expressing contempt for their followers and cynicism about their brand personas. Sarah referred to her marriage content as selling fairy tales to desperate housewives, while Jake called his vulnerability content monetizing my damage for the masses. The discovery of these recordings was devastating for their remaining supporters. The callous way they discussed their audiences revealed that they viewed their followers not as communities they were serving, but as customers they were manipulating for profit. A breakthrough in the investigation came when a former employee of the social media management company that initially leaked the messages agreed to speak publicly. The employee, identified only as Alex for legal protection, revealed that both influencers had been using sophisticated systems to maintain their deceptions. According to Alex, both Sarah and Jake employed teams of content creators and social media managers who were instructed to maintain their public personas even when the influencers themselves were engaged in activities that contradicted their brands. Sarah's team was creating perfect marriage content while she was conducting an affair, and Jake's team was maintaining his authentic single dad persona while he was in a secret relationship. The revelation that their content was being ghostwritten by teams of employees while they lived completely different private lives added another layer to the deception. Their followers believed they were connecting with authentic individuals when they were actually consuming content created by marketing teams designed to sell products and courses. The financial investigation revealed the true scope of their businesses. Combined, Sarah and Jake had generated over $8 million in revenue in 2022 through their various enterprises. Their affair wasn't just a personal betrayal, it was the collapse of multi-million-dollar businesses built on carefully constructed lies. Banking records obtained through legal proceedings related to their divorces showed that both had been spending significant amounts on their secret relationship. Hotel suites, expensive restaurants, gifts, and travel expenses told the story of an affair conducted at the highest levels of luxury, funded by the income they generated from deceiving their audiences. The investigation also revealed that other influencers in their industry had suspected the affair for months, but had remained silent. A group chat obtained through legal discoveries showed several prominent wellness and fitness influencers discussing Sarah and Jake's suspicious behavior as early as December 2022. The influencer community's failure to speak up raised questions about complicity and the protection of profitable deception within the industry. Most shocking was the discovery that both Sarah and Jake had been planning to eventually reveal their relationship and rebrand their businesses around their partnership. Messages found on the secret account discussed timeline strategies for divorcing their spouses, combining their audiences, and launching a joint business venture focused on authentic relationships and finding love after trauma. The irony was staggering. They had planned to profit from revealing their affair by repositioning it as an inspirational love story. Their current crisis had derailed what they saw as a longer-term business strategy to monetize their deception and betrayal. The depth of their planning and the calculated nature of their deception revealed that this was never just an affair that got out of hand. This was a business strategy that involved deceiving millions of people, betraying their spouses, and manipulating vulnerable audiences for profit. The human cost was secondary to their financial and brand considerations. As the investigation deepened, the true scope of the deception became clear. This wasn't just about two people having an affair. It was about the systematic exploitation of parasocial relationships, the commodification of human emotion, and the lengths to which people will go to maintain profitable online personas. As the scandal continued to unfold, it raised fundamental questions that extended far beyond the personal destruction of two influencers. Legal experts, ethicists, and technology professionals began grappling with issues that would reshape how we think about privacy, consent, and responsibility in the digital age. The central legal question was deceptively simple but profoundly complex. In an era where people build businesses around sharing their personal lives, what constitutes a reasonable expectation of privacy? Sarah and Jake had monetized their relationships, their struggles, and their personal journeys. Did that eliminate their right to private communication? Constitutional law professor Dr. Michael Torres from Stanford University explained the legal complexity. We're dealing with public figures who have voluntarily shared intimate details of their lives for profit. Traditional privacy protections may not apply in the same way they would for private citizens. However, the method by which their private communications were obtained and shared raises serious questions about digital privacy rights. The original leak had come from an employee of a social media management company with access to shared cloud storage. This raised questions about employment law, non-disclosure agreements, and the responsibilities of companies handling sensitive client information. Legal experts debated whether the employee who leaked the messages could face criminal charges for unauthorized access to private communications. Technology law specialist Dr. Sarah Kim noted, "This case highlights the vulnerabilities in our digital infrastructure. When influencers use business accounts managed by third parties, they're essentially trusting multiple people with access to their most private communications. The legal frameworks governing this access are inadequate for the current reality of social media business operations." The ethical implications were equally complex. Philosophy professor Dr. Earl James Winters from Harvard University posed the central ethical question: when public figures profit from sharing fabricated or misleading personal narratives, do they forfeit the right to privacy regarding the truth behind those narratives? There's an argument that their audiences have been defrauded and deserve to know the reality behind the content they've consumed and paid for. The case raised unprecedented questions about informed consent in parasocial relationships. Millions of people had formed emotional connections with Sarah and Jake based on narratives that were partially or entirely fabricated. Mental health professionals expressed concern about the psychological impact on followers who had invested emotionally and financially in relationships built on lies. Dr. Amanda Rodriguez, a psychologist specializing in social media relationships, explained, "Parasocial relationships involve real emotional investment from followers. When those relationships are revealed to be based on deception, the psychological impact can be similar to being betrayed by a close friend or family member. The scale of this betrayal, affecting millions of people simultaneously, is unprecedented in human psychology." The legal implications for the leaked messages themselves became a focus of intense debate. Multiple jurisdictions were involved. Sarah lived in California, Jake in Texas. The management company was based in New York, and the Reddit server hosting the initial leak was located in Virginia. Each state has different laws regarding privacy, consent, and the sharing of private communications. Federal authorities began investigating potential wire fraud charges related to the influencer's business practices. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center received hundreds of complaints from people who had purchased courses or products based on what they now considered fraudulent marketing. The investigation centered on whether knowingly false personal narratives used to sell products constituted wire fraud. Legal expert Patricia Chen, no relation to Sarah, explained the potential charges. If prosecutors can prove that Sarah and Jake knowingly used false personal narratives to sell products or services, they could face significant federal charges. Wire fraud carries penalties of up to 20 years in federal prison. The scale of their businesses and the number of people affected could result in serious criminal consequences. The case also highlighted gaps in consumer protection law regarding influencer marketing. The Federal Trade Commission's guidelines require disclosure of paid partnerships, but don't address authenticity of personal narratives used in marketing. Legal scholars argued that new regulations were needed to protect consumers from fraudulent personal branding. Social media platforms face scrutiny over their role in both enabling and amplifying the scandal. Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter all profited from the content that Sarah and Jake created, taking percentages of advertising revenue generated by their posts. Legal experts questioned whether platforms had any responsibility to verify the authenticity of content that generated significant revenue. Technology ethicist Dr. Kevin Park from MIT raised broader questions about platform responsibility. These platforms have sophisticated AI systems that can detect deepfakes and manipulated media, but they don't verify the authenticity of personal narratives that drive engagement and revenue. There's an argument that platforms profiting from content have some responsibility to ensure that content isn't fundamentally deceptive. The international implications became clear. As the scandal spread globally, European Union data protection laws offered different privacy protections than U.S. law. Legal experts in multiple countries debated whether their citizens who follow the influencers had grounds for legal action under their local consumer protection laws. The case established several legal precedents that would affect future influencer scandals. Courts began recognizing that influencer business practices fell into a gray area between entertainment, advertising, and fraud that existing laws didn't adequately address. Child welfare law became involved due to Jake's children being subjects of his content. Legal advocates argued that children of influencers needed special protections, similar to child actors, when their lives were monetized for content creation. The case prompted legislative discussions about regulating family-focused influencer content. The most significant legal development was the class action lawsuit filed against both influencers by customers who had purchased their courses and products. The lawsuit argued that the courses were sold under false pretenses, with Sarah's marriage advice coming from someone in a failed marriage, and Jake's divorce recovery guidance coming from someone who had misrepresented his divorce experience. Attorney Jennifer Walsh, representing the class action plaintiffs, stated, "Our clients paid for expertise and guidance from people they believed had successfully navigated challenges similar to their own. The revelation that these narratives were fabricated means our clients were defrauded. They paid for authentic advice and received marketing based on lies." The lawsuit sought damages totaling over $15 million, representing refunds for courses and products plus punitive damages for emotional distress. Legal experts predicted that the case would set important precedents for influencer accountability and consumer protection in the digital age. The ethical implications extended beyond the immediate participants to the entire influencer industry. Other content creators began questioning their own practices. wondering where the line existed between strategic personal branding and fraudulent misrepresentation. The scandal forced a reckoning within the influencer marketing industry about authenticity, verification, and responsibility. Major brands began implementing stricter vetting processes for influencer partnerships, requiring documentation to verify personal narratives used in marketing content. Most significantly, the case raised questions about the nature of authenticity itself in the digital age. In a world where personal branding is essential for financial success, how much authenticity can reasonably be expected? The line between strategic self-presentation and fraudulent misrepresentation had been blurred beyond recognition. The legal and ethical implications of the scandal would continue unfolding for years, reshaping laws, regulations, and industry practices. What had started as a personal betrayal had become a fundamental challenge to how society manages truth, privacy, and responsibility in the digital age. The scandal that destroyed Sarah Chen and Jake Rodriguez became a mirror that reflected uncomfortable truths about the society we had created around social media, authenticity, and the monetization of human emotion. As the initial shock wore off, deeper questions emerged about the world we were living in and the values we had collectively embraced. The first major revelation was about the scope of deception within the influencer industry itself. As investigators and journalists dug deeper into Sarah and Jake's practices, they uncovered an entire ecosystem built around manufacturing authenticity. The discovery of ghostwritten content, fabricated personal narratives, and coordinated deception strategies raised questions about how widespread such practices might be across the industry. A former social media management executive, speaking anonymously to protect themselves from legal retaliation, revealed that Sarah and Jake's practices were not isolated incidents. The source claimed that manufactured authenticity was standard practice among major influencers, with entire teams dedicated to creating compelling personal narratives that bore little resemblance to their clients' actual lives. The industry operates on the assumption that audiences want authenticity, but can't handle reality, the source explained. So we create a version of authenticity that's marketable, profitable, and engaging. The line between strategic storytelling and outright deception has been erased completely. This revelation prompted investigations into other major influencers, with internet detectives applying the same forensic techniques used in the Sarah and Jake case to analyze the authenticity of other popular content creators. The results were disturbing. Pattern after pattern of potential deception, fabricated narratives, and manufactured authenticity emerged across the industry. The psychological impact on social media users began receiving serious academic attention. Dr. Rachel Martinez from the University of California, Berkeley, conducted one of the first comprehensive studies of parasocial relationship betrayal, surveying over 10,000 people who had followed Sarah or Jake. Her findings were alarming. We discovered that people who had formed strong parasocial relationships with these influencers experienced psychological distress, comparable to being betrayed by close personal friends. Symptoms included depression, anxiety, trust issues, and what we're calling authenticity paranoia, an inability to trust any online content or influencer. The study revealed that the most severely affected were people who had made significant life decisions based on the influencer's content. Individuals who had purchased relationship courses from Sarah or divorce recovery programs from Jake reported feeling fundamentally misled about major life choices. One survey respondent wrote, "I restructured my entire approach to my marriage based on Sarah's advice. I bought her courses, followed her strategies, even convinced my husband to participate in her programs. Finding out that her marriage was fake made me question everything about my own relationship and my ability to make good decisions." The economic implications extended far beyond the immediate financial losses experienced by Sarah and Jake. The scandal triggered a broader crisis of confidence in influencer marketing that affected the entire industry. Major brands began pulling back from influencer partnerships, demanding higher levels of verification and authenticity documentation. Marketing research firm Digital Trust Analytics found that consumer trust in influencer recommendations dropped by 67% in the 6 months following the scandal. The influencer marketing industry, valued at over $16 billion annually, faced its first major contraction as brands shifted budgets to other advertising channels. Social media platforms found themselves under intense scrutiny for their role in enabling and profiting from potentially deceptive content. Congressional hearings were scheduled to examine platform responsibility for content authenticity. European regulators began drafting new laws, specifically targeting deceptive influencer content. the technical implications were equally significant. The scandal had revealed how easy it was to coordinate deceptive content across multiple platforms while avoiding detection. It exposed vulnerabilities in how platforms verified user identities, monitored content authenticity, and protected user privacy. Cybersecurity experts warn that the techniques used to uncover Sarah and Jake's deception could be used maliciously to invade anyone's privacy. The same forensic analysis methods that revealed their affair could be applied to any public figure or private individual with a significant online presence. Dr. Kevin Shen from the MIT Media Lab explained, "This case has shown that digital privacy is essentially an illusion for anyone with a significant online presence. The tools and techniques used to investigate these influencers could be applied to anyone. We're facing a fundamental reckoning about privacy in the digital age." The scandal also revealed the inadequacy of existing legal frameworks for addressing digital age fraud and deception. Traditional fraud laws were written for a world where business and personal life were clearly separated, but influencers operate in a space where the personal is professional and authenticity is currency. Legal scholars began calling for comprehensive new legislation specifically addressing influencer fraud, parasocial relationship protection, and digital authenticity standards. The complexity of these issues required new legal thinking about consent, privacy, and responsibility in digital relationships. The impact on children and families became a major focus of concern. The scandal had demonstrated how influencer deception could affect entire families, including children who never consented to public exposure. Child welfare advocates began pushing for stronger protections for children whose lives were monetized through family influencer content. The case prompted broader discussions about the ethics of monetizing family relationships, parenting struggles, and children's lives for content creation. Several countries began considering legislation that would regulate family influencer content, similar to child actor protections. Mental health professionals reported a significant increase in patients seeking treatment for issues related to social media authenticity and parasocial relationships. The scandal had triggered a broader cultural conversation about the psychological impact of living in a world where authenticity was constantly questioned. Dr. Amanda Foster, a therapist specializing in social media-related mental health issues, noted, "We're seeing people who are struggling to trust their own judgment about relationships and authenticity. The revelation that influencers they trusted were deceiving them has created a crisis of confidence that extends beyond social media into their real-world relationships." The educational implications were significant as well. Schools began incorporating digital literacy and critical thinking about social media content into their curricula. The scandal had demonstrated the need for people to develop better skills for evaluating the authenticity of online content. Media literacy experts used the case as a teaching tool, showing how careful analysis of digital evidence could reveal deception, but also warning about the privacy implications of such investigative techniques. The scandal ultimately forced society to confront fundamental questions about the world we had created around social media. Had we built a system that inherently encouraged deception? Were we complicit in creating incentives for people to monetize fabricated versions of their lives? What did authenticity even mean in a world where personal branding was essential for financial success? The answers to these questions would shape how society approached social media, influencer culture, and digital relationships for years to come. The affair that broke the internet had revealed that the internet itself might be fundamentally broken, at least in terms of how it handled truth, authenticity, and human relationships. As we reach the end of our investigation into the affair that broke the internet, we're left with more questions than answers about the digital world we've created and the society we've become. The destruction of Sarah Chen and Jake Rodriguez represents more than just another influencer scandal. It's a cautionary tale about authenticity, trust, and the human cost of turning our lives into products. The most haunting aspect of this story isn't the affair itself, but what it revealed about all of us. Millions of people had formed genuine emotional connections with carefully crafted personas designed to sell products and generate revenue. We had created a world where authenticity became currency, where vulnerability became marketing strategy, and where the most intimate aspects of human experience were commodified for profit. Sarah and Jake's story forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about our relationship with social media and the influencers we follow. How many other influencers are living lives that bear no resemblance to their online personas? How many of the authentic moments we consume are actually manufactured by marketing teams? How much of what we believe about the people we follow online is real? The scandal revealed the dangerous psychology of parasocial relationships in the digital age, When we invest emotionally in influencers, when we base life decisions on their advice, when we purchase products because we trust their recommendations, we're entering into relationships that are fundamentally unequal and potentially deceptive. The influencer knows nothing about us, but we feel like we know everything about them, except we might not know them at all. The broader implications for society are profound. We've created economic incentives for people to share the most intimate details of their lives, often fabricated or exaggerated for maximum engagement. We've built platforms that reward vulnerability, authenticity, and emotional connection. But we've also created systems that make genuine authenticity nearly impossible to maintain while achieving financial success. The children affected by the scandal, Jake's kids who became subjects of public discussion, they never chose, and all the children whose parents monetize their family lives for content, represent perhaps the most troubling aspect of influencer culture. We've normalized the exploitation of childhood innocence for adult financial gain, and the long-term psychological consequences remain unknown. For the millions of people who found genuine help, inspiration, and community through Sarah and Jake's content, the revelation of deception created a crisis that extended beyond disappointment into fundamental questions about trust, judgment, and the nature of help itself. If the advice that helped you was based on lies, does that invalidate the help you received? These are questions that our society is still struggling to answer. The legal and ethical frameworks governing influencer conduct remain inadequate for the complex realities of digital age business and relationships. We need new laws, new regulations, and new ethical standards that can address the unique challenges of a world where personal authenticity is a business model. As consumers of digital content, we all bear a responsibility for the world we've created. Every like, every share, every purchase based on influencer recommendations contributes to a system that incentivizes the commodification of human experience. We have the power to demand better, to support authenticity over manufactured perfection, and to recognize the humanity behind every screen. The platforms themselves must grapple with their role in amplifying potentially deceptive content while protecting user privacy. The same algorithms that made Sarah and Jake famous also documented their deception and amplified their destruction. Technology companies have a responsibility to consider the human impact of their systems beyond simple engagement metrics. Moving forward, we must ask ourselves, what kind of digital culture do we want to create? Do we want a world where authenticity is performance, where vulnerability is marketing, and where the most intimate aspects of human experience are commodified for profit? Or can we build something better? The affair that broke the internet ultimately broke more than just two influencers' careers. It broke our illusions about the digital world we've created. Now we have the opportunity to rebuild those systems with greater wisdom, stronger protections, and deeper respect for human dignity and privacy. The lessons from this scandal extend far beyond social media. They touch on fundamental questions about truth, trust, and authenticity in modern society. How do we maintain genuine human connections in a world where everything can be manipulated, manufactured, or monetized? How do we protect the vulnerable while preserving the benefits of digital community and support? These are the questions that will define how we move forward from this digital reckoning. The answers will shape not just the future of social media, but the nature of human relationships in the digital age. If this investigation has made you think differently about your own social media consumption, about the influencers you follow, or about the nature of authenticity in the digital age, then it has served its purpose. Critical thinking, digital literacy, and healthy skepticism are our best defenses against deception, whether from influencers, platforms, or any other source of information. Remember to approach online content with both an open mind and a critical eye. Support creators who demonstrate genuine authenticity and transparency. Demand accountability from platforms and influencers alike. Most importantly, remember that behind every screen is a human being, flawed, complex, and deserving of both compassion and honesty. The story of Sarah Chen and Jake Rodriguez is ultimately a story about all of us, our desires, our vulnerabilities, and our capacity for both deception and redemption. As we navigate the digital age, we must remember that our humanity is not a product to be sold, and our trust is not a commodity to be exploited. The internet may have been broken by this affair, but it's up to all of us to build something better from the pieces. Thank you for joining me on this investigation into one of the most significant social media scandals of our time. If you found this analysis valuable, please consider subscribing to Crime Vault. Your subscription directly supports our ability to conduct thorough, respectful investigations into the complex stories that shape our digital world. Hit that subscribe button ring the notification bell, and join our community of viewers who believe that understanding these stories is essential for navigating our increasingly complex digital society. Share your thoughts in the comments below, but remember, engage respectfully and thoughtfully. Real people are behind every story, and our words have power. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and remember, in our connected world, we're all responsible for the digital culture we create together.